All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and today we're going to be breaking down PFL 7 2023. I'm pretty excited for this card. It's not the most stacked card in the world, but I think it's a good card nonetheless. And then we've got another two PFL cards coming up in August. We've got PFL 8 and 9 actually going to be here in New York, so I'm pretty hyped about that. Not too many betting spots here. Not my favorite card when it comes to betting, but we're going to talk about it. I'll give you guys what I ended up betting, what I'm looking at. Not really looking at much else apart from what I've already played, but we'll see if we find anything good on this stream, and we'll talk about it all. Excuse me. And we can hop right into the card. We got the first fight, Billy Elekana versus Chuck Campbell. Elekana, he's 5-1-0, 28 years old, 6'2" with the 77-inch reach, training out of Uprising MMA. Campbell, he's 5'2-0. He's 39, so he's going to be 11 years older here, 2 inches taller, and he's got a 1.5-inch reach advantage, training out of American Kickboxing Academy. Excuse me. And look, honestly, I like Campbell here. I've got a bit of a problem with it because he's literally 39 years old, and he's a relatively low output guy. You see in the Modestas Bukauskas fight, he was very low output, didn't really push the pace at all. But on the positive side, he's a good striker, good counter striker, uses his length very well, and he's got fantastic takedown defense, something that we expect from a guy coming out of AKA. And I just feel that on the Elekana side, I'm not quite sure what he really has to offer. I don't really know how good he is, and just from what I've seen so far, I don't think he's that great. And I can't really tell you what he's fantastic at. He's got pretty good wrestling, and that's where he does most of his work, is on the ground or against the fence. And that's going to be hard against a guy like Campbell, who, first of all, is hard to take down, and then he's also very hard to hold down. So I don't really know how that's going to work out for him. And then in the striking, Elekana is not a very good striker. Maybe he'll have a better output than Chuck, but I don't think he's going to be the cleaner or more technical striker by any means. So I like Chuck Campbell to win this fight. I played him at plus 175 for a half unit. I wouldn't do more than that. He is 39. He is low output. But honestly, I feel like this is a very winnable fight for him. And we can move on to the next fight. All right, here we've got Chelsea Hackett versus Kai Bennett. Hackett, she's 3-1-1, 23 years old, 5'4" with a 66-inch reach. She trains at, we're going to go with Potential Unlimited MMA. I know she does train out in Australia. Bennett on the other side, she's 3-2-0. She's going to be 2 years older at 25. 1 inch shorter with a 2-inch reach disadvantage, training out of Elevation Fight Team. So I'm pretty biased towards Hackett. She was in one of my favorite reality TV shows. I'm a nerd. I really like Survivor, and they have an Australian version. And of course, I've watched it. And she was in it, and she was pretty dope. It was actually really fun to watch because I had seen her on the Contender Series before then. So if anybody was wondering what she's done since that Victoria Leonardo fight, she went on Survivor, and I guess she's been training. So while I'm biased towards her because of that, and I do think she wins, I only played a half unit because I'm not positive just how hard she's training or what's going on there. Because like I said, a year ago, she was on a reality TV show out on an island. It was pretty dope, though. It was cool seeing her. But in terms of this matchup, you look at Kai Bennett, and she's pretty underwhelming, in my opinion. She's got pretty good wrestling, and that's going to be the way to beat Hackett here. I mean, she got dominated by Victoria Leonardo on the ground, which was a terrible, terrible look. And eventually she even got stopped via ground and pound. And I think she was like a minus 270 favorite in that fight. So Bennett could totally do that. The thing is with Bennett, I'm not seeing this great top control from her. And Leonardo is a bit bigger of a woman and is a bit more physical. Even while she's like a bad fighter, she's very physical. Bennett is as well. I just don't think she's as physical. So I think she's going to have a bit of a harder time taking down Chelsea and holding down Chelsea. And I don't really see her finishing her down there. And then on the Hackett side, her striking is really solid. I really like her striking. Fantastic output. Really nice combinations. Nice and straight. 1-2s down the pipe. Everything you want to see from a striker, she's got it. Doesn't really wrestle herself. She's done it before, but it's not really her thing, and I don't expect it to be done here from her. And like I said, the takedown defense is still questionable. Still had a lot of work to do, and we don't know exactly how it's going to go because we don't know what she's been training this whole time that she's been gone. If she's been working on her takedown defense, she's probably going to dominate in this one. So I played her on minus 140, but only for a half unit because we gotta consider everything and can't really put too much on somebody who's been out for 2 years and 8 months, even if they did have a great game on Survivor. Unfortunately, she actually got removed from the game because of injury, which was pretty sad because she was killing it. But oh well. Anyways, back to the card. Next up, we've got Anthony Ivy versus Carson Hardman. Ivy 11-7-0. He's 33 years old, 6'2" with a 74-inch reach. We're going with War Training Center for him. Hardman 12-3-0. He's going to be 5 years younger. He's going to be 3 inches shorter. Don't have his reach. X-Site gym for him. Look, I always look to fade Anthony Ivy. And when I saw somebody who was plus 205 against Anthony Ivy here in the PFL, I was like, let's see what's up. I'm going to bet the guy. And then I taped Carson Hardman. Man, he's no good. He's really not good at all. Takedown defense is no good. Wrestling is no good. Striking is no good. Very just loopy power shots. Can he chin check Ivy? Yeah, he probably could. He could definitely land a good shot. But I think the most likely outcome is Ivy uses that wrestling, takes him down, and I think he's going to submit him at some point. So I like Anthony Ivy here. Am I going to bet him at minus 270? No, I'm not. I did consider him by submission, but it's plus 100, which is like 50% chance. Does it happen 50% of the time in this fight? Probably around there, but there's no value then. So I think Ivy wins. I think he wins by sub. I'm not going to waste too much more time. Hardman is just really not good, guys. Moving on, we've got Desiree Yanez versus Lisa Mauldin. Yanez is 7-4-0. She's 33 years old, 5'4" with a 64.5-inch reach. Blitz Sport MMA is what I've got for her. Mauldin, 5'3-0. She's also 33, 3 inches taller, 2-inch reach advantage. Team Oyama for her. So this is a really solid fight, actually. Neither woman is like spectacular, but they're both pretty solid. Lisa Mauldin, good wrestler, great top control, but the striking is pretty lacking. And then Yanez is honestly a pretty similar story. She's got pretty good wrestling, striking, but I think she's going to be the better striker here. And we've seen her in a couple of tight matchups in Bellator. Not against the best in the world, but people like Bruna Ellen, who's pretty decent, Veta Ortega, who's all right, Melissa Martinez split decision. That was a long time ago now, but Martinez is pretty good. And then she beat Myra Mazar on I think it was the PFL contender thing. So, yeah, I feel like because the wrestling is close, I've got to lean Yanez because I do think she's a better striker here. I do think she'll outland Mauldin on the feet, and I do think she's going to land the better shots against Mauldin. So I'm going to pick Yanez here, but she's what? Let me tell you. She's minus 220. I don't really like that. I can't blame anybody taking the shot on Mauldin at plus 180. It's just not really for me because I'm concerned what she's going to look like on the feet. Maybe I'll retape this one because it is really tempting because, like I said, I don't think either one's spectacular. And Mauldin really is pretty solid, but I'll probably be passing. And right now, the pick will be Yanez and the bet will be a pass. And we'll move on. All right. Next up, we've got Thad Jean versus Ali Omar. Jean is 5-0 undefeated as a pro, 25 years old. He's 6'2" with a 76-inch reach. On the other side, you've got Ali Omar, 5'2-0. He's also 25. He's going to be 4 inches shorter and have a 1-inch reach disadvantage. He's coming off of the fight against Sana and Sadek in the Challenger Series, and I believe Thad Jean is also coming off of the Challenger Series against Eric Alaquin. So it's interesting because I was watching the Omar Sadek fight, and honestly, Sadek is essentially Thad Jean, but not as good. They fight so similar, and I feel like because Omar had kind of a hard time in that fight, I really think he's going to have a hard time in this one. So that Gene, I like the guy a lot. I mean, the dude's got crazy power. He's really big, uses his length really well. The striking is super solid. Everything is nice and straight for the most part. His wrestling's pretty good. Nothing crazy. Doesn't really go to it too often, but the takedown defense is very, very solid. Cardio is pretty good. Holds up all 3 rounds. Whereas Ali Omar, he does slow down. You saw that a lot in the Sadek fight. Like he was really slowing down. So I do think that'll be relevant here. I wouldn't go too crazy on Thaddeus. I mean, he's minus 500, minus 450. And the truth is, Omar really isn't that bad. He's actually got pretty good output. He's got good striking, and he can wrestle as well. So would I be 1,000,000% shocked if Omar picked up this W? No, I wouldn't. So because of that, I wouldn't parlay Thaddeus. But I do think he's a better striker. I think he's going to hurt Omar several times. I think that if Omar tries to take him down, he's going to get stuffed. Maybe Gene will even end up on top, be able to hip out. So we'll have to see, but I like Thaddeus to win this fight. Unfortunately, he's just not really playable. I consider the knockout prop. It's a plus money, but again, I wouldn't be shocked if he went to a decision because Omar is tough. He's not a bad fighter. The Sadek performance wasn't the best in the world, but Sadek's not bad either. So can't really hate on Omar too much. I just think that Thaddeus is a better man here. We're going to move on. All right. Next up, we've got Elvin Espinoza versus Keoni Diggs. Espinoza's 8-0 undefeated as a pro. He's 30 years old, 5'9" with a 74-inch reach. And let me double check my notes. I'm pretty sure he's training at, let me tell you. I actually don't have his camp. All right. So we're going to go with round 5 MMA. On the other side, Keoni Diggs, 10-2-0. He's 36, 5'9" with a 72-inch reach. So same height, 6 years older, and has a 2-inch reach disadvantage. And I also don't have a cam for him. So we're going to go with 808 Fight Factory. So this one's pretty interesting to me. Espinoza, he's been fighting in the PFL. He had the Hopton Stewart fight. He had the Corey Jackson fight. And then the Mirfert Hadbegovic fight. And he's looked okay. He's looked pretty solid. He's got really good wrestling. We saw it in particular in the Demir fight. Dominated him on the ground. And it seems like his game has become wrestling, even though he does – pretty sure he comes from a striking background, but he's definitely a wrestler now. And I don't love his striking. I really don't. I don't think he's that great of a striker. And I feel like in this matchup, Keoni Diggs kind of has him covered there. So Diggs, I like the dude. He's 36. I understand he's on the older side, and he didn't have the best recent run in Bellator. But, I mean, you could do worse than going to split with Daniel Weichel. The Bobby King fight, he lost by split. Bobby's not a world beater, but he's also he's a gatekeeper, a pretty solid gatekeeper over in Bellator. And then the Ricardo Seixas fight, that was a pretty decent win. So I think Diggs on the feet has the edge here. I do think he's a better striker, and I think he's just going to land the better shots, have the better output. Maybe Espinoza will have more power, but overall I like Diggs better on the feet. And then on the ground, Diggs is also a pretty good wrestler, and he's got great takedown defense. So it's not going to be easy for Espinoza to take him down. Definitely not going to be easy for Espinoza to hold him down. And like I said, Keoni can probably get his own takedowns as well. Espinoza's takedown defense hasn't been tested too much lately, but he can be taken down, and I do think Diggs is going to do just that. So honestly, because I think Diggs has him covered pretty much everywhere except for the measurables, have to go with Diggs here. I played him at plus 135 for a half unit. Again, nothing crazy. He's 36 years old, and Espinoza is definitely a prospect, but I think that Diggs is better here pretty much everywhere. So I'm going to have to go with Diggs. Is this a shadow or am I dirty? I think it's just a shadow. But we'll move on. All right. Next up, we've got Marthin Hamlet versus Impa Kasanganay. Hamlet is 12-4-0, 31 years old, 6'1" with a 75-inch reach. On the other side, you got Impa. He's 13-3-0, 29. He's 2 years younger, 2 inches shorter at 5'11", also has a 75-inch reach. And look, I've been pretty worried about Impa being over here at light heavyweight. I feel like he's just not one. I feel like he'd be better at welterweight, but I mean, he was a middleweight before. But I think it would have made more sense for him to go down than it would have been for him to go up to light heavyweight. Not really sure what that's about. Why is this bothering me so much? Not really sure what that's about, why he went up, but here we are. So I feel like Impa's a better striker here, and he can wrestle too, right? Impa can wrestle too. He's got pretty good wrestling. The striking I like, and I think he's going to have the striking edge here. Takedown defense is pretty good, but I didn't like what I saw in the Corey Hendricks fight. He got taken down a few times. Pretty sure he got his back taken at one point. And while Impa has a good ground game himself that he really wanted to show off in the last fight, Hamlet is a really good wrestler, and Hamlet is really good in the submission grappling. So I wouldn't be shocked if Hamlet, was able to really take him down and control him, maybe even submit him, but definitely control him. And we've seen Impa have really good scrambling ability. Again, in the Corey fight, he also did pretty good against Raymond Magomedaliev, I believe is the name, over in Eagle FC. He did lose that one, but I really liked the scrambles and I liked the defensive grappling from him. The thing with Hamlet is, honestly, like I would be playing him as the underdog here because, like I said, I think the physicality difference is going to be pretty tremendous here. Hamlet is very much a 205er, and Impa is very much not a 205er. Hamlet's not a bad striker, but I think Impa's going to outstrike him. Hamlet's not bad either. And like I said, his wrestling is really solid. Combine that with the physicality, and I think we're going to get takedowns from him here. The problem with him is his cardio. It's horrible. His cardio is horrible. He goes from being like a 7 or 8 out of 10 fighter to being like a 4 or 5 out of 10 fighter within like a round. So it's really not a good look. I do think he's been looking a bit better. But what was that last fight? The Sam Key fight. I mean, I had him ITD there. I don't know what the hell is wrong with him. I mean, I'm sorry. Sam Key has no business in being in that cage. And the fact he couldn't even finish him, not a great look. The Fakhrudin fight, he did his job, got the finish. He should have submitted the guy, and he did submit the guy. He did exactly what we thought he would. And I don't know. It's the cardio that's really the problem for me. Otherwise, I'd be on Hamlet here. I did consider late Impa props, like Impa round 2 or round 3. But my problems are A, the prices aren't very good on those. And B, I'm really worried about this physicality difference. And Impa can also fade. So if Hamlet is really wearing on him, making him carry his weight, making him really work to get back on his feet, I wouldn't be shocked if Impa also got gassed. So I'm going to pick Impa here, but it's a no bet for me. Very much a pass. Dog or pass, if anything, in terms of betting. I think that Hamlet is live for the upset. I just don't want my money on a guy whose cardio is horrible. Because if I'm watching this fight and then he gasses after like 5 or 6 minutes, I'll be really pissed. So I'm going to stay off of it. But Impa will be my pick. But I do think Marthin is a live dog. All right, moving on. We've got Gabriel Alves Braga versus Chris Wade. Braga's 11-0 undefeated. He's 25 years old, 5'9" at the 72-inch reach. On the other side, you got Wade. He's 23, 9-0, 35 years old. He's 5'10". He's 1 inch taller. With the 70-inch reach, he's got a 2-inch reach disadvantage. So I like Chris Wade here. He's the underdog. I got him at plus 110. I believe he's plus 100 now. Minus 105. I still think that's playable. Depending on your book, you could still get plus 100. Chris Wade is very talented. He's a really, really good wrestler. He's got really good takedown defense. He's a great striker. And he's definitely fought the better brand of competition here. It's not even quite close. I mean, Chris Wade has fought the who's who of PFL, and there's some really tough guys in there. Lance Palmer, not so much Kyle. Brendan Loughnane lost to him. Bubba Jenkins, he actually beat Bubba the first time, and then he lost to Bubba the second time. And then the Ryoji Kudo fight, that was a little concerning. I'm not going to lie. Kudo was hurting him a lot until Wade got that sub. And I had Wade there, so I was pretty concerned about that one. And that's why I kept this a half unit shot also. Because while I think Chris Wade is a higher caliber fighter here with a really good wrestling background, we've seen him already start to struggle a little bit with good strikers who can keep it on the feet. And it does seem that he is on a bit of a decline here at 35. So while I think he's a better guy and he should win this, especially if he uses his wrestling, have to keep it only a half unit. You can't do too much more. With Braga, he's very talented. I mean, he's got that Jesus Pinedo win. That's his name, right? Yeah, and we just saw Pinedo knock out Loughnane. I mean, MMA math, but Braga looked pretty good there. And what was his last one? Marlon Mariah. So Marlon actually landed some pretty good shots, if you ask me, and I think he even hurt Braga at one point. But then Braga checked the chin of Marlon, just like pretty much everybody else has. So that was impressive and not impressive at the same time. Braga's got pretty good takedown defense. He's got pretty good wrestling of his own, but he can be taken down. And I really think that's the path here for Wade. I don't think it's smart for Wade to stay here and try to strike with Braga. He might get really hurt, I think. Braga is a powerful striker. He's young and he's still improving. And he's already a good striker technique-wise. And the output is pretty good too. So while I think that Wade could definitely compete on the feet, I mean, it's not a blowout by any means, but I just don't think it's a move because he could get chin checked here and could get knocked out. So give me Chris Wade, but we're keeping it small, only a half unit stake, and we'll move on. Okay, next up we've got Josh Silveira versus Ty Flores. Silveira 11-1-0. He's 30 years old, 6'1" with the 75-inch reach, trading out of American Top Team. On the other side, you got Ty Flores, 13-4-0. He's 1 year younger at 29, 6'3", so he's going to be 2 inches taller, same reach, training out of Elevation Fight Team for him. Look, Flores is horrible. Man, Flores is so bad. It's crazy. And the fact that he's made it to the semifinals is pretty nuts. Pretty nuts. I'm sorry. I respect every fighter. I really do. But I say it how I see it. And Flores, he's really bad, man. He lost to Jacoby on the Contender Series, which is okay. That's fine. Jacoby's tough. Jacoby's a great kickboxer. He's got good takedown defense. So, okay, that's fine. Then he loses to George Tokos. Whatever, not a great look at all. And then the wins are crap. Then Delon Monte and Dan Spode. He outgrapples both of them. Monte is not an impressive fighter at all. And Dan Spode is like 40. I think he might be even older there. And I actually bet Spode in that fight just to show you how lowly I think about Flores. So, look, his striking it's terrible. His striking is terrible. Everything is wide, loopy, no technique behind it. Not much, like the output's not great either. Just a bad striker, just a genuinely bad striker who's very hittable. And while I don't think Silveira is this amazing striker by any means, and I'm normally looking to fade Silveira, this is not the spot to fade Silveira. I mean, on the feet, like I said, he's no stud himself, but he's miles ahead of Flores on the feet, if you ask me. I think he's a much, much better striker. Flores is just like, I feel bad, but he's horrible. And the only thing he has going for him is this wrestling he's been using. He's a very big physical guy. He can wrestle and he can chain wrestle and he can do it for all 15 rounds. And you got to give it to him. He's pretty good at it. And the cardio holds up. So I'm going to give him that. Well, I think his striking is abysmal. I'll say his wrestling is pretty good. But his own takedown defense isn't anything like crazy either. And he's going to need it here because Silveira can wrestle as well. He's a credentialed wrestler. And coming out of a good team, American Top Team, I know his pops is training him also. The dude can wrestle. The dude can grapple. I think he's got like 6 submission wins. I think he has Flores absolutely covered from head to toe in this fight. Significantly better striker. In my opinion, the better offensive wrestler. Better takedown defense. Better submission grappling. Maybe we'll give Flores the cardio, but I don't even know about all that. I don't think Silveira's cardio is that bad either. And, you know, he's been on a great run. 11-1-0, and like the one loss is to Omari Akhmedov. I actually played Omari there, and I was very proud of myself. It's like plus 200. Because like I said earlier, I am usually looking to fade Josh Silveira. I think he's a great prospect, but at the same time, I don't think he's top level. But, I mean, you don't have to be top level to beat Ty Flores. You just have to be serviceable. And even Spone was winning on the feet against him. So, give me Silveira, maybe Silveira even by knockout, because he could get a sub for sure, especially if Flores is like just shooting in. He can get a front choke. But I kind of feel like he's going to knock out Flores just because Flores is, dude, I keep saying it, but he's so hittable also on top of the crap striking. So, yeah, give me Josh Silveira. Won't beat a dead horse anymore. And we're going to move on to our main event. For our main event, we've got Bubba Jenkins versus Oh, I actually forgot a bet that I do have for Silveira Flores. So, well, Silveira's the pick, and I don't really think he's playable at these odds, and there's not really much to parlay together here. But I like the over 1.5. I got that at plus money at plus 120. Let me check if it's still there. It is still there. And I don't think we're going to get a flash finish here. I don't think that Silveira is just going to come out here and spark him. I think we're going to have a lot of wrestling, especially out of Flores. And because of that, I do think we go over the 1.5 rounds at a fairly high clip. I really do. I think we're going to get a lot of cage pushing. Neither guy is like an amazing striker, so it's not like someone's going to come out there and just spark the other one. Silveira could hurt him in the clinch, that's for sure. Pretty sure that's how he did Hamlet. But yeah, I like that over. I think with all the grappling, it's going to help us hit that at a fairly high clip. But moving back to the main event, we got Bubba Jenkins versus Jesus Pinedo. Bubba is 21-6-0. He's 35 years old, 5'8" with a 72-inch reach. On the other side, you got Pinedo. He's 21-6-1, 27 years old. He's going to be, let me do some quick math, 8 years younger, 4 inches taller, and have a 2-inch reach advantage. So Pinedo really showed off in that lockdown fight, right? He pulled up. He was like a plus 500 something underdog, and he got that knockout. Could he get that knockout again against Jenkins? Yeah, he probably could. And he's a good striker, but I think Jenkins got this. Jenkins is special, man. Like, I think the dude is special. And you look at his record recently, he did lose to Chris Wade at one point, but then he got it back in dominant fashion. The Loughnane fight, you know, most people lose to Loughnane if their name is not Jesus Pinedo. So, you know, you can't really blame him there. And Loughnane is one of those guys who's just on or off. And if he's on, he looks amazing. And if he's off, he looks like absolute garbage, even against not great competition. He was on that night. So I'll forgive Jenkins there. The Kudo, nice submission win. Ronaldo Aikson, I mean, the guy was okay, but not as impressive. But long story short, Bubba Jenkins is a fantastic wrestler. I think he also beat Lance Palmer. I think that was last season. And I just think his wrestling is too good, even here against Pinedo. Pinedo has shown good takedown defense. He's been able to use his length to his advantage. But the way Jenkins wrestles, it's so nice. I was watching his last fight last night, the Sung Bin Jo fight. Watch when he takes him down. The way he elevates his legs right away and he stacks them and then wraps them. Just the way he's doing things, like it's extremely technical to make sure that his opponent can't get up. And I love what I see from him with that in that regard. And I think that he could submit Pinedo here. We have seen him go towards the submissions a little bit more now. And I am considering the submission prop. It's plus 375. I think that's a pretty generous price, to be honest. And yeah, I think that Jenkins wins this. I think he wins it by sub. I think his dominant grappling is what gets the job done for him. And his striking's not bad either. It's improved a lot, and it's definitely it's solid. It's just Pinedo is probably better on the feet. So I think Jenkins, it's in his best interest to shoot, and I think he very much knows that. So give me Bubba Jenkins. Give me Jenkins by sub. The only play I've done so far, though, is Pinedo. Not Pinedo. Is the under 2.5. It's plus 158. I like that quite a bit. Pinedo could get a knockout, not counting him out for it. And Jenkins, like I said, I really do think he pulls off the submission. So I do like that under 2.5. And I'm probably going to add something to the Jenkins sub as well. But that's it, guys. That's the show. That's PFL 7. Thank you all for tuning in. In terms of my content from this week, at Couch Warrior Pod on Twitter, that's where I post all my bets as soon as I make them. This has been a busy week in terms of bets. I have a money line play on almost every single UFC fight for this card, which is not good and not what I normally like to do at all. But the spots came to me. I liked it, and I played it, and that's how we ended up with this stack that I have now. But make sure to check that out. I did drop a video last night. I went live to break down the full UFC card from the bottom up, so make sure to run that back. And then I also released all my YouTube shorts. So if you like shorter breakdowns, crisp to the point, those are available now as well. And then in terms of content after this, tomorrow at 6, I'll be doing Prop Talk as always on Twitter Spaces with my co-host MMA Propaholic. And then I may or may not get an LFA video out. We'll see. But I do already have a video out for next week's Dana White Contender Series fights. So make sure to check that out. And that's it. So thank you guys all. Good luck this weekend, and